Israel's Air Force attacked Hezbollah's intelligence headquarters in Damascus, Syria, over the last 24 hours as the IDF spokesman revealed the identity of the senior officer who was terminated in Dahya in Beirut. Another account is closed with a terrorist who participated in the massacre in Kfar Aza on October 7, while the IDF is again operating in the al-Nusirat camp in the Gaza Strip. The assessment in Israel is that Iran will definitely launch another attack against us, but has not yet decided on the scope and the timing. However, Israel is not just bracing for Iran's next move, but is also considering a preemptive strike against Iran. Meanwhile, the Israeli Ministry of Defense announced that Iran tried to assassinate the commander of the Nabatim air base. This is obviously not a traditional war, and the aim is to spread panic and distrust in Israel. On the diplomatic front, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken was informed by the Egyptian foreign minister that Hamas has refused to release even a small number of hostages in exchange for a ceasefire. We have a lot of ground to cover today, so let's dive into the details. I'm Yair Pinto, and this is your Boots on the Ground report about what is happening in Israel on the 396th day of the war against Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis in Yemen, all the Shiite militias in Iraq and Syria, and of course, they are all under the directives of Iran, the head of the axis of evil in the Middle East. A moment before we start, I want to ask you to take a second and look for the subscribe button and click on it so that you will never miss another episode of Boots on the Ground. The IDF spokesman confirmed on Monday evening that Air Force fighter jets attacked Hezbollah infrastructure and assets in the Damascus area, following reports about explosions in the area that appeared in the Arab media portals. This is an unusual announcement by the IDF, which usually does not take responsibility for attacks in Syria in general and the capital city of Damascus in particular. According to the Syrian Center for Monitoring Human Rights, a London-based group which is part of the opposition of the Assad regime which rules Syria, 2 Hezbollah members were killed and 5 were wounded in this attack. Also, the Syrian radio station Sham FM announced that the attack was aimed at 3 targets in the suburbs of Damascus: El Saida, Zinab, the area of the capital's airport hotel, and the area of the village of Najah. The IDF spokesperson's office said that the target of this strike was the headquarters of the central intelligence body of Hezbollah that is responsible for building the organization's intelligence image, lead the direction of the organization's intelligence activities, and is the center of collection and detection capabilities. The statement continued by saying that Hezbollah's intelligence headquarters operates a branch in Syria, which includes a collection of assessment systems. The systems operate independently and under the direct directions of the Hezbollah's intelligence headquarters, Hussein Ali El-Zima, who was eliminated in Beirut about a month ago. It was also reported that in recent attacks in the Dahya neighborhood of southern Beirut, in which Hassan Nasrallah's successor, Hashem Safi al-Din, was eliminated, along with Hussein Ali Zima, Muhammad Shahen, the head of Hezbollah's intelligence headquarters in Syria, was also eliminated. The IDF statement said that Shahen held a number of positions in Hezbollah and in the intelligence headquarters. He had not yet assumed the position of the head of the headquarters in Syria. Over the years, he gained experience and established close working relationships with the Syrian regime and the Iranian axis and the elements that operate in Syria. As part of his position, he led processes of building and exercising power in the fields of intelligence and air defense in cooperation with various axes and elements. Guys, in the Middle East, relationships are everything, and that's true for terrorist organizations as well. When a terrorist like this is eliminated, all his relationships and experiences are also lost and cannot be easily replaced. Israeli officials said this evening that attacking Hezbollah targets in Syria is part of the effort to prevent the ability to strengthen the organization through the Syrian space and part of the deep change to not allow Syria to be the connecting axis between Iran and Lebanon. Meanwhile, the ground maneuver against Hezbollah in southern Lebanon is entering its 5th week. Much of the Hezbollah infrastructure in the border area has already been demolished, but the IDF keeps finding more tunnels, bunkers, and massive stockpiles of weapons and ammunition. At the same time, the Air Force is making strikes against Hezbollah targets deep inside Lebanon, always accompanied by warning to the civilian population. A significant blow was delivered to Hezbollah's logistical systems on October 30, when fuel storage facilities were attacked in Baalbek. These facilities were used by the organization's fleet of ground vehicles and were a vital artery in the operations of its military infrastructure. Another operational achievement was recorded in recent days with the arrest of the commander of the Aita al-Shayab region and other fighters from the Radwan force who were caught in an underground facility in southern Lebanon. His interrogation yielded valuable information about the locations of weapons, rocket launchers, and terrorist strongholds. Hezbollah suffered another severe blow in recent days with the assassination of 9 of its senior commanders, including the deputy commander of the Radwan elite unit, the commander of the coastal sector, and the commanders of the artillery and anti-tank formations. Dozens of other mid-level, junior, small unit commanders have also been eliminated. As Hezbollah is a very top-down organization, it is no surprise that the loss of all these commanders has led to a decrease in the scope of attacks from Lebanon. 226 attacks this week compared to 280 last week. However, there is an alarming trend of expanding the firing ranges to populated areas 5 to 50 kilometers from the border, increased from 18% to 27.4%. The organization continues to rely primarily on rocket fire while also increasing the use of unmanned aerial vehicles, which are more difficult to intercept. At the same time, it is necessary to prepare to prevent the restoration of the organization's capabilities for the day after, while tightening the international control over land, air, and sea smuggling routes. Another front in this war against Hezbollah is the public relations and the war that is being waged on social media platforms. Recently, the social networks has been flooded with images of complete destruction in the strip of villages along Israel's northern border. IDF forces are operating in tangled and wooded areas adjacent to the fence in southern Lebanon, where Hezbollah has placed terrorist infrastructures, military buildings, weapons, and compounds intended for raids into Israel. The engineering forces of the 188th Brigade are working to expose and destroy these terrorist infrastructures, and in the midst of all this work, they uncover a missile depot that also included a stockpile of weapons which were hidden in a complicated area and underground infrastructure. These operations are part of the effort to dismantle Hezbollah's capabilities to carry out its operations, especially its launching of rockets and anti-tank missiles at Israeli civilian communities. Guys, here at TBN Israel, we will continue to update you on what is happening in the battle against Hezbollah, even as the larger war against Iran continues to heat up. A second before we get into the news, I want to invite you to visit our website and get in-depth articles and updates on what is happening in this region. Visit tbnisrael.com and stay tuned to the truth. The latest assessment in Israel is that Iran is likely to carry out its threat and respond to the attack carried out by Israel on October 26th. On Monday evening, we reported in the main edition that although the decision in Tehran has been made, Israel understands that Iran is still debating the scope of the attack and its timing. One possibility is that Iranian forces and proxies will attack Israel from multiple directions at the same time, including from Iraqi territory, what's left of Hezbollah in Lebanon, and the Houthis in Yemen. Israel continues to prepare both defensively and offensively with options, and the IDF Home Front Command is operating at a high level of readiness. In addition, United States forces deployed in Israel to operate air defense systems are also on high alert. The United States also deployed 6 B-52 bombers and dozens of additional fighter aircrafts to bases in this region in order to be ready to intercept incoming Iranian ballistic missiles, and the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier battle group is also on its way to the region. Matthew Miller, the spokesman for the United States State Department, said in a briefing last night, "Our message to the supreme leader of Iran is the same message you heard from us last week, and that is that Iran should not respond anymore. Iran should not escalate the situation any further. If it chooses to do so, we will support Israel in defending itself." On Saturday, we reported that the assessment in Israel is that if Iran attacks, it will do so partly through the Shiite militias in Iraq and Yemen. As mentioned, as part of the preparations, the United States sent reinforcements of fighter jets and strategic bombers to the Middle East. The strategic bombers are not intended for defensive missions, but for attack missions, which may be understood as a clear message to Iran about the future. The IDF is also making preparations for the possibility that this war could expand, closely monitoring Iranian preparations for another attack and looking for opportunities to disrupt those preparations. One source of information is groups of Iranians who are opposed to the Ayatollah regime. These groups are often led by exiles and have centers of operations in several Western countries. The Iranian International, which is a satellite television channel which is affiliated with these opposition groups, reported on Monday that Brigadier General Yotam Sigler, 46, is under security protection after an Iranian plot to assassinate him was detected and stopped. The report, which is claimed to be exclusive, is allegedly based on an Israeli security source who spoke to the website anonymously. According to him, it is not a standard procedure for anyone, only for those who are under threat, such as the Chief of Staff or the Commander of the Air Force. But now, extra security has been attached to him and his family after he was exposed. According to the report, the base commander was the target of a previously detected spy ring made up of Jewish immigrants to Israel from Azerbaijan, a country just north of Iran, which has a similar language and many cultural ties to Iran. This spy ring, made up of several individuals, is accused of having been in contact with Iranian agents for 2 years and have been in police custody for several months now. Their arrests were only announced 2 weeks ago, and revelations about their activities are slowly coming up. Among other things, they are accused of photographing military bases, which are also the targets of the ballistic missile attacks from Iran at the beginning of the month. Some of the 7 were caught following an Israeli senior official and his son, who they allegedly planned to assassinate, although the identities of the senior officials and his son were not published by the Shin Bet yet. Although we cannot be sure that the commander of the Nabatim Air Base was in fact a target, it makes perfect sense that he would be. The base is a high priority target for Iran, as it houses not only large numbers of IDF aircrafts, it is also the base of operations for strategic intelligence and many other important divisions of the Air Force. Speaking of strategic intelligence, Iran's own strategic planners are looking around and seeing that they're under tremendous pressure from all directions. They understand that they were hit hard by Israel on October 26th, and they are also under attack from their own domestic opposition, as well as terrorist groups based in Pakistan on their eastern border. Amidst all of this, they are also being watched by their allies in Russia and China to see if they can be taken seriously on the international stage. The regime knows that it cannot afford to appear weak in front of all its enemies and allies. Making a big demonstration of power against Israel would be one way to show everyone it is a force to be reckoned with. However, the tools it has to make such a demonstration are limited. its ballistic missiles have been demonstrated to be much less effective than they were always feared to be, despite their claims to have demolished Israeli bases in the Negev during their October 1st attack. One possibility is that they'll launch another attack and simply make the same claims of doing massive damage to Israel without providing any evidence. We don't know what their plan is, but we do know that Iran has a large number of ballistic missiles of various types and has begun to move some of them into Iraq because they've learned that these missiles are less accurate than longer ranges. Iran's Air Force is also expected to fire long-range Arash-type suicide drones in an effort to overwhelm the Israeli air defense systems. Also, the possibility of Iran operating Su-24 attack aircrafts to fire cruise missiles at Israel is not ruled out, although previous attempts to use these platforms have proven to be very difficult and achieving limited results. Also, Iran's ancient Soviet-built planes would be highly vulnerable to the modern Israeli and US interceptor aircrafts which would be sent up to confront them long before they approached the Israeli airspace. One area of warfare that Iran had had great successes in is the information space, sending out fake news and propaganda that millions of people all over the world who should know better are taking seriously. On a personal note, I must say I've been astonished at how many influencers and even senior journalists in Western countries have mindlessly repeated Iranian talking points almost word by word over the past year. I don't understand why anyone takes a statement of a senior regime official at face value after so many years when they've been caught lying and exaggerating again and again and again. Be that as it may, when we hear reports that Iran is planning to attack before the United States elections, we have to take these reports seriously and make the necessary preparations. But we must also remember that Iran has an interest in keeping us worried and tense, hoping we will get tired and let our guard down so they can take that moment to actually hit us. This is the reason why Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has set up an account on X in Hebrew, sending out messages like this one, which said the United States and the Zionist regime will receive a crushing response to what they are doing against the resistance front. Once again, speaking for myself, this doesn't scare or even impress me, but I understand why he's doing it. And I also see that he's not satisfied with that. In the last 24 hours, the Iranian propaganda machine has released a video based on Israeli photographs which are published on social media networks in which Israeli citizens show panic when they take pictures of drones fired at the northern communities. The Iranian intelligence branches are not only engaged in recruiting spies during war, they also examine the mood and the morale of Israeli citizens, and based on their impressions, they produce videos like this one which paint a picture of a situation that is far from a reality. It is unclear who they're trying to convince, Israelis or themselves, but in any case, these attempts at deception have consequences in the real world. Israel has proven to Iran more than once that its long arm reaches anywhere. Iran knows this, and at this stage is content with threats, bluster, and lame CGI-enhanced social media videos. A Roman philosopher once said, "Worse than war is the fear of it." This is the reason why the Iranian propaganda system tries to sow fear and anxiety. But the truth is that Israel has the necessary military strength to meet this challenge, and we also have a strong population which is not intimidated by Iranian threats. This is why I'm asking you once again to help us spread the truth. And if you'd like to help us create more videos like this one, please consider making a financial donation by going to our website at www.tbnisrael.com/give or click the donate button on YouTube. Switching our focus to the Gaza Strip, in an operation that took place last weekend, reserve fighters from the 179th Brigade operated together with other units in the area of the central Gaza Strip and deep inside al-Nusirat. During the operation, over 40 terrorists were eliminated, and significant intelligence was obtained that will help the continuation of the war and the achievements of its main goals. As you might remember, last June, 4 Israeli hostages, Noar Gamani, Almog Meir, Andrei Kozlanov, and Shlomi Ziv, were rescued from the heart of this city of Nusirat while the IDF was operating in the area. During the operation, the late Arnon Zmora was killed, after which the name of the operation was changed in his memory to Operation Arnon. Switching our focus to the diplomatic front, in the last 2 days, delegations from Hamas are reported to have visited Cairo to meet with representatives from Fatah, the political faction which dominates the Palestinian Authority and administers civil affairs for the Palestinian population in Judea and Samaria. The talks in Cairo were aimed at finding ways to end this war, release the Israeli hostages in exchange for Palestinian security prisoners that are held in Israeli jails, and administer the Gaza Strip on the day after the final withdrawal of the IDF. The U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken told the Egyptian Foreign Minister Badr Abdel Ati that Hamas has once again refused to release even a small number of hostages in order to guarantee the ceasefire and relief for the residents of the Gaza Strip. This is according to the summary of the conversation published by the United States State Department. It was also reported that Blinken emphasized the importance of ending the war, increasing and maintaining humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip, and the importance of providing governments security and reconstruction in the day after. Speaking of Judea and Samaria, there has been a great deal of security activity in this area for the past several months, which hasn't got much attention, but a larger number of terrorists have been arrested and eliminated in exchanges of fire with Israeli security forces. In recent days, more terrorists have been taken off the battlefield, including Qassem Malach, a key operative in the Hamas terrorist infrastructure. He was eliminated in an exchange of fire with the IDF troops in the Nur el-Shams refugee camp near Tulkarem over the weekend. He had only been in his position for a few days, having replaced a terrorist who was eliminated in another exchange of fire with Israeli forces last week. The IDF reports that it continues to operate in this area along with the border police and the Shin Bet in order to manage the threat of terrorist attacks in Judea and Samaria. To give a word of explanation about what we're seeing, Hamas is trying to hold on as a central authority in the Gaza Strip, and it also has operatives in Judea and Samaria. Senior officials in the Palestinian Authority said yesterday that Hamas is not ready to give up actual control of Gaza, and have been battling Hamas for years as it tries to increase its presence in Judea and Samaria. Fatah and Hamas representatives ended the round of meetings in Cairo, where they discussed the day after the war with Israel in the Gaza Strip without a joint declaration. The parties agreed to hold another meeting after the Arab Summit in Saudi Arabia later this month. Guys, here at TBN Israel, we will continue to report on what is happening, and we ask you to continue to provide us with the strength and pray for Israel. Pray for the IDF soldiers, no matter where they are, if it's in Lebanon, in the Gaza Strip, or anywhere else. Please pray for the quick return of the hostages back to their loved ones, to their families in Israel. Pray for the peace of Israel, and don't forget to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And together, because of God, we will win this war.
Hello, this is Mati here in Jerusalem with TBN Israel.
This is Yair Pinto from TBN Israel here in Jerusalem. TBN Israel is keeping viewers informed with Israel-focused news, culture, and what God is doing in this land.
Support TBN Israel today online at tbn.org/Israel. Thank you.